Good morning and welcome to our time of prayer and reflection for today. Now, so far this week, we've thought about the choice that Mary and Joseph made. We've thought about the strength of their faith and the risks that they both took in making that decision. But today, I'd like to know what you think about how Mary is usually portrayed, specifically in the images or statues or icons that we now have of her in our churches. I'm obviously sitting beside the statue of Mary that we have here in our school chapel, as I have been all week. But I'm going to put a few more images of Mary, representations by artists, on the screen now. As you look at them, I'd encourage you to consider whether or not you think these are a good representation of Mary and the strength of her faith or not, and why. Is there anything that you can see the images have in common? What is the same in the images and what is different? Okay, as you know, our Bible reading for this week is taken from Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 to 25, and it says this. Now, the birth of Jesus the Messiah took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been engaged to Joseph, but before they had lived together, she was found to be pregnant from the Holy Spirit. Her husband Joseph, being a righteous man and unwilling to expose her to public disgrace, planned to divorce her quietly. But just when he had resolved to do this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of God, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet. Look, the virgin shall become pregnant and give birth to a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took her as his wife, but had no marital relations with her until she had given birth to a son, and he named him Jesus. Now, perhaps obviously, we don't know what Mary actually looked like in real life because she lived around about 2,000 years ago. So obviously, there were no photos then. We do know that she was Jewish, so that means that she probably had olive toned skin. She would have had dark hair and dark eyes, but beyond that, we just don't know. Was she tall or short, fat or thin, pretty or not? No idea. But there are lots of images of her that have a few things in common, and there is a reason for this. Mary is usually pictured wearing some kind of blue robe, and that's because the color blue used to be used to represent purity or virginity in the same way that in the Western world we now use the color white for that. We also know that blue was the color of Byzantine royalty, which was the point at which many of the images of Mary were first emerging. So that image of her in royal blue demonstrates her importance to the church. Now, even though it isn't the case in this image of Mary, she is also often shown wearing red because the color red used to represent love, passion, devotion, all sorts of traits that are associated with being a good mother. If you wonder about the idea of red being associated with love, think about Valentine's Day. What color is everywhere? read. Now, sometimes Mary is shown cradling Jesus in a close embrace. Other times she is shown kneeling before him because even though he was her son, Jesus was also the Son of God, and Mary understood this. There are other times, like in this image, that Mary is shown in some form to indicate that she prayed. So she has her hands together in the classic image of prayer. In other words, the statues and icons that we have of Mary, just like so many other images in the church, are the equivalent of a picture speaking 1,000 words. There are always layers on layers of meaning. I'll see you soon.